Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff. He's Chad. We'll be with you for a little while talking Texas football. Big breaking news out of Steve Sarkisian's press conference. Stay tuned. But first, I want to tell everybody, like the page or the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Chad, we hit 180 yet?
181.
Boom!
How about that?
200. Like, one of those things I never thought I would say out loud, and yet chugga, 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 chugga.
181. Cross your fingers.
Thanks
There we go. There we go.
To, the thousands of you that were new subscribers, we won't waste any more of your time. Steve Sarkisian had his press conference. I thought it's kind of boring. Mm-hmm. There's one headline really that comes out of it, and it is not an insignificant one. And I want to thank Anwar Richardson. In fact, volleyball clap.
Absolutely.
For Anwar Richardson, because I do not know that this question was other. This was not the first question out of the gate.
What'd I tell you? What did I tell you?
Anwar asked the injury question.
Yeah. And
Sarkisian didn't have to say anything, except he did. You still have to ask the question.
Imagine that. Sometimes he'll answer and actually give you a really good answer.
I would actually nitpick Anwar a little bit because I thought the way to ask the question would have been specifically to say, did they practice today? Because sometimes Sark will volunteer that information. It doesn't always mean anything, right? He told us that Arch Manning practiced, and it was like, wait, what? Oh, we can start the clock on him at practice kind of a thing. Michael Taft, Jelani McDonald, Ryan Wingo, all practiced today. All sounded like he basically said they're good to go.
He said no setbacks. I thought that was a good phrase.
No setbacks. I think that's specifically talking about concussions.
Sure.
Although it could be thumbs. It could be a lot of different things. It basically sounded like none of the three will be on the injury report when the injury report comes out this week, based on like his general attitude and tone. Because I don't know that they've ever put guys that are probable on that. They'll put questionable and drop a guy down to probable, but I don't really remember a big probable section. So,
right. Well, do you mean, no, wait, when you say drop to probable, or you mean probable or you mean doubtful?
No, I mean, drop, I guess, is the wrong way. They move them up, but like in the tier of, it goes probable, questionable, doubtful, out. So on that scale, I was dropping them down, but yes, I understand. You're right. Thank you.
You're doing this. You have out at the top. I would have out at the bottom. I'm just making sure.
Fair enough. It's like the DEF CON thing. Sometimes it's confusing that when
it really is tough. Yeah. Is 5 what I need to worry about, or is 1 what I need? Okay, we got to be all right.
So from an injury standpoint, I don't know that Texas could be better served than when they are going into Athens this week, barring setbacks in practice tomorrow. They'll go full pads. It'll be their most physical practice of the week. But, boy, he really wanted it. Like, he could have said anything, but he made sure to point out. And, like, as a follow-up, he made a point to really lay it on thick with, like, when asked about the secondary, getting 4 back and getting 16 back. Really big. He also said 17, Xavier Filsaime, a few times, which
that was interesting. He threw him in.
It was interesting. I don't even know completely what it means, other than it sounds like from his perspective, Filsaime good enough as a player that when he wasn't out, they really missed him, certainly connected to already missing McDonald and Taft. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know that from an injury standpoint, there's a whole lot more you could ask for going into the game, especially on the heels of on Saturday morning, I think it was, right? We learned that Georgia had lost Jordan Hall, their starting defensive tackle. Maybe that was Friday. I've lost track of the days from this weekend. But, there's news that you can get that's bad. And today, all the news was pretty good on the injury front. Like I nothing to quibble, nothing. It doesn't even seem like to really be worrying about going into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yeah, that was the biggest part of the presser, obviously, the getting those updates. Another interesting part for me, Catch, was, to me, this entire game for Texas is going to boil down to how they're able to move the ball. He was asked about his offensive line, this new version of the offensive line. His answer, I thought, was telling. He didn't tell us he didn't like his offensive line, but he also didn't tell us he loved them. He was very honest about that group. The first thing out of his mouth about his offensive linemen were, these guys have evolved. Well said. Well said. But it got me to think about this team, and you just mentioned Jordan Hall being out. Can Texas move the sticks enough against Georgia is a huge question in this game.
Can they be average? I asked Anwar this question, right? We don't need them. I got into this conversation on Orange Bloods yesterday about the offensive line and the portal. In fact, there was this even came up in Twitter and a little bit of the comments in the comments section. It was like, you're not just going to find all SEC offensive linemen in the portal. Mm-hmm. It was like, well, that's not the bar.
No, you don't.
The bar is, can you improve, like not being able to block anybody?
Right.
Because that's what you're trying. You're not. If
there's
anything we should all know about offensive lines in college football in the last 10 years, other than at Alabama, where admittedly they did do some freaky stuff during the last 10 years of the Nick Saban run, but most offensive lines have a couple of NFL guys and then a bunch of experience, a bunch of old guys who played a bunch of football, who have kind of become, honestly, that's who Cole Hudson is. Yeah. First 3 years of Cole Hudson's career, you didn't really want him on the field. But the fourth-year version of Cole Hudson is like, you know what? That guy's serviceable.
Give you something, yeah.
And if the offensive line on Saturday against Georgia can be serviceable, this team has a chance to win the game on Saturday. But that's a hell of a benefit of the doubt to give a group that every time it's gone on the road this year, it hasn't been serviceable in a single game, other than a quarter and a half against Mississippi State towards the end. But beyond that, Kentucky was Kentucky. A lot of that Mississippi State game was a Mississippi State game. They didn't move the ball against Ohio State, and Florida was Florida. So,
yeah, no, it's obvious. We knew it was a challenge at the very beginning of the year. If Texas had been steamrolling every team they've played and was undefeated, we know this would be a hell of a challenge in Athens. But Catch, to me this week,
be undefeated right now and not and both the A&M and Georgia games.
Yeah, the way those two are playing right now, you could play a pretty damn good game and still lose to both of those teams. Like, we know that's true. But Catch, here's what's in my mind this week. Because I know everybody's talking about all the home games for Georgia. Don't think about all of them. Think about this one. When they're in a ranked matchup at home and they're the higher ranked team, Kirby's 11-1. Do you know what the 1 is?
It just happened.
We just saw it. And how did Bama do it? Bama did it a very interesting way. Go into that game and break down how they did it. Because the rushing part, you said Texas doesn't have to be great. They have to be average, maybe a little above average. Catch, they got outrushed by Georgia a ton, but Bama had more rushes than Georgia did, 38-33. Now, Georgia ran for 6.9 a carry. Bama only ran for 3. But you know what else is interesting about that game, Catch? Bama converted third downs all over the place, and they held the ball for 36 minutes. They're not good at running. They're worse at it than Texas is. Bama can't run the football, but somehow,
they're really bad, actually.
They're real bad, but they walked in there and their quarterback performed. This is how Texas has to do this. Their quarterback performed, run enough that they think you can do it, but your quarterback has to outperform Stockton, move the ball, keep the ball. That's the kind of thing I'm watching here. That's how Bama pulled it off. And remember, they got out early, and they forced Kirby Smart into what I will still say is the dumbest coaching decision of the season that only I care about. No one else cares that he didn't want a tie game with 13 minutes to go. It was coaching malpractice, and they pushed him to it. Bama freaked him out enough that he and Bobo lost their minds. They didn't want a 25-yard field goal to tie the game with 13 minutes to go. Rest of the ball game, he got one drive, and he lost. If Texas can freak him out, maybe he'll be that stupid again.
Well, I think, the thing that you're describing with the Alabama performance, the one that actually won in Athens, is that it included a level of maturity and execution and execution in key moments. You just talked about 13 minutes ago in the fourth quarter, he got the ball back one time.
Yeah.
He might have thought he had three. He would have thought, I'm getting the ball back twice, maybe three times.
Bama just kept the ball.
And look, we've seen Texas in recent years. The Michigan game a year ago stands out in my mind, where it's like 21 plays, 65 yards. It doesn't even make sense when you do the math.
Right.
But at the end of it, you chew up a lot of the game. It's just not the version of Texas we've seen very many times this season.
Here's the number, Catch. You love this number. You know what Simpson's rating was in that game? It was 141.5. That's not terrific, but it won the game because it outperformed Stockton. He was better than Stockton, and there was only one turnover in the whole game, and it didn't belong to Bama. They went to Athens. They won turnovers +1. They won the time of possession pretty significantly, and they kept it away from Georgia enough.
I have a buy or sell question that is in line with what you just brought up, right? And it centers around Texas last year pushed Georgia to the brink at quarterback. I mean, the game at Austin Carson Beck was awful.
Yeah.
He gets knocked out, but he wasn't doing anything before that in the rematch.
Right.
But Texas couldn't be better at quarterback.
Yeah, and Stockton comes in, and he wasn't terrific, but he made a couple big plays that Texas just didn't make.
Quinn didn't. In the end.
Quinn didn't make them. He made them.
In the end, Texas didn't get a quarterback advantage on a day when on one game when the other quarterback was absolutely wretched. The day that Carson Beck was utterly wretched, Quinn got benched. So wash, kind of, I guess. And then in the rematch, Quinn ultimately wasn't better than Gunnar Stockton. It is one of the questions I have for you in buy or sell is related to kind of passer efficiency and what we expect from each of these two quarterbacks against the defenses that they'll be playing on Saturday. I think it's an interesting question, interesting discussion. I thought the other thing that was really interesting was that I wonder how Sark really feels about his team. I think there might be some false confidence because one of the things he talked about in watching games on Saturday was like his exact words were, you could see the cream rising to the top. That the teams that are the teams did some of those things this weekend. And he talked about you can see them improving. You can see them rising to the top, separating, playing their best football.
Yeah.
Is that who Texas is?
That was an interesting phrasing. I think the other thing he saw there, Catch, he was making a comparison. He watched two teams. He mentioned them by name. He watched two teams on the road that needed a drive, and they got a drive. And he knows his team didn't get it. Didn't get him. Whatever you want to say about Texas, and the Florida thing's a little different, but that was still an 8-point game. But his team didn't get those drives. And he's hoping, obviously, that that's what it comes down to in Athens. But he mentioned Oregon, he mentioned Indiana, and what they did late to go get a drive. And does he think his team can go do that? I'm not sure. I really don't know.
I will say about Sark, today was one of those press conference days where I generally really like him. It feels like for about 80% of the press conferences on a day like today, there's about 80% full transparency. That he's like a straight shooter. And kind of what I like him is that he's very much he's very Parcells in
Yeah.
Hey, man, don't make me we're 7-2. Don't make me apologize for it.
Yep.
Like, if you want to talk about the 2, cool. But don't nitpick me on the 7. And, you know, he had a comment today about playing in the SEC championship game. He had a couple of, I thought, some interesting, snarky comments, and I wondered who he was even thinking of. He made a point when talking about the SEC championship game where he was talking about coaches, and he said basically was alluding to, we got a bunch of people in the conference that have never even played for a conference championship game. I was like, wonder if that was like a barb specific to anybody in particular.
I say there's a group of those teams. I don't know which one he was talking about, but we all kind of know that group, right?
Yeah. And it was while he was patting Kirby Smart on the back and saying this guy's getting ready to maybe play for 5 straight.
Right.
Some people have never played for 1.
Yeah. And that's
and I
the
was
cool
like,
part.
oh, you know, you can say that when you're 2 years into the league and you have played for 1.
The other cool part about this week, if they lose this game, then we'll have to reset the discussion to that whole, could they get in with 3 losses? That's about the playoff. This week, though, he can still talk about Atlanta. Yeah. And with his players, I mean, that's how you set your season up, right? Trying to get championships. And this specific championship matters in a way that the other Power Fours don't, with all due respect to those Power Fours. SEC is just a little different in terms of that. So that he's still alive. This week is about taking Georgia's spot. You can take their spot in the rankings, basically. They're going to be at 5 again.
It's about, you're
going to be at 10.
Getting punked by Kirby Smart.
Right. Can you take their spot? And can you, stop the discussion. You've lost 2 to Ohio State in a row, and you've lost 2 to these dudes in a row. And unlike Ohio State, you can't schedule away from these guys. These guys are going to come back over and over and over again. You got to figure it out if you're going to get to the mountain.
You know, it's not like Sark hasn't beaten, or he beat Saban in Tuscaloosa.
Sure.
And beat them like they stole something that night, right? Like that was not like that wasn't the way Alabama beat Georgia. But he's gone. I mean, it just is what it is. And when you look at DeBoer at Alabama, when you look at Kirby at Georgia, and when you look at Day at Ohio State, those are the bar. Like, right, there are 5 big dog programs, really. And they haven't played at Oregon, so there's just not an Oregon thing yet with Texas.
Right.
But God, don't lose to Oregon, and then you'll add that to the list.
Right.
You know what? These things, I don't think it's a big thing. I don't hear a lot of Texas fans saying Sark can't beat the best coaches.
Right, because it's very
But
specific.
I am starting to hear that whisper from non-Texas fans. Like, it is one of those things. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
He hasn't beaten any of those active guys, and he is 2-11 in his career in Austin against top 10 teams. Oh, I told Anwar earlier today, that's a lot of top 10 teams in your first 5 seasons.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It is. It's a lot. Like, I don't know if you told him coming in, hey, coach, FYI, first 5 years, you're going to basically not, and he's not done yet. Like, there's another one around the corner. You don't want those things to take on a life of their own, and they can, right? Once upon a time, Oklahoma beat Texas in 2000. Awful, in a bad way. But that game didn't end with the idea that, well, Mac Brown can't beat Bob Stoops. Texas can't beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But then the next year, the Roy Williams Heisman, the leap happened.
The Superman.
And then it was only twice. But then it started to feel like.
Yeah, it did. And then the next 2.
Is there a thing? And then in 2003, Texas was leading going into the 4th quarter, and they blew it.
Yep.
And so it's like, oh my God, now it's 3 straight. And it does kind of feel like they've lost every way possible. They got their ass kicked. They blew a game in the 4th quarter. They lost a nip and tuck one. What's next? Oh, another thrashing. And then it was like, this is a historic run of dominance all of a sudden. It can go like that in a hurry if you don't sneak in some wins inside of those losses.
Yeah. Plus you add in the ingredient. You have not been able to handle this team the last 2, and you haven't played them in Athens yet. Like they beat you at your place. They beat you at the neutral, which obviously is close to them. I get it. But this is their house. You haven't even been there yet. You don't even know what that is.
I wasn't old enough, but like once upon a time, Tom Landry couldn't win the big game.
Right.
And like, how many had he really been in? Well, like historically, he lost 2 in a row to the freaking like dynasty Packers.
Yeah.
And then essentially he got beat on a field goal in Super Bowl V.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a vacuum, not really anything that anybody should be embarrassed about. But those things, even in the late 60s and early 70s, before social media, right? Before a lot of things, before color television for a lot of people. Yes, youngins out there, once upon a time, everybody would just watch it in black and white. And a lot of gray, if we're being completely honest. Like that's what we do. These narratives take hold. And so like if you're Sark, I don't really think it's a thing. But you don't want to lose another one. You don't want it to be 3 straight to Smart. And look, the next time, because I would say this, the next time it happens again with the big dogs, it'll be mentioned. It'll be mentioned he hasn't been able to beat Ryan Day, hasn't been able to beat DeBoer. And a lot of those games, very few of those, there's some neutral site games there in a few instances. It's not like all of these are on the road and it's completely unfair. Those 2 Georgia games, neither one's been on the road yet.
Yeah.
The DeBoer games, both neutral site games. And Ryan Day, one of those games was a neutral site game inside the state of Texas. So, I don't know. At some point, you do have to win. It's why, for me, the title of this was like, the moment is here. I think this weekend's a big Steve Sarkisian moment.
Yeah, because this is the game. No matter what else was going to happen, this is such a massive game. We said earlier, right? No matter what it was going to look like, you thought this game was huge. This is a game that even if they are the badass preseason number 1 we thought they could be, they could still go lose this game. We knew it. We knew it then, and we know it now.
At the end, he mentioned in the press conference today, Sarkisian said, he really, if there was a Kirby Smart thing, I think Sark really diffused it today. Like he really went in depth on they text each other more than they used to. And he's a defensive guy and I'm an offensive guy, but we're pretty aligned. And it's a good thing I actually had questions about this, about whether it's a good thing or not, that the coach at Texas and Georgia might be in lockstep together on football issues, but that's neither here nor there. Sark, I knew what you meant.
And
there was also part of me that was like,
right.
He thinks of himself as Kirby Smart's peer, no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it to become a thing where it's like, is he really a peer of Kirby Smart? And you have to win games in order for those things to not get asked. Ask Lane Kiffin. Like Lane.
Not to be fair, he did mention 4 SEC title games in a row and 2 national championships. That didn't feel like Sark saying he's on my level. That felt like Sark saying Kirby.
But Sark looks at the here and the now. They played for the title last year. They've been to the playoffs 2 years in a row since then. I don't think Sark totally sees himself outside of. I don't think Sark's comparing himself to other coaches and going, in 2021 I went 5-7, and next year we went 8. I don't think he's doing that. I think Sark looks at, I got this thing cooking. This is who I am. And so in a 2-year vacuum, even a 3-year, if you include this one, he's mostly right. Because Kirby, other than the SEC championship in the last couple of years, they are peers. They haven't won shit. You know what I mean? Like they have, he's gone as far as Kirby has in the last couple of years in terms of playoffs. I think Sark does think of himself as a peer.
That's true. If you want to start January 1st of 2023, we can have that discussion. But he did mention those 2 titles today.
He did. And I'm not saying he doesn't. I think he would rank Kirby Smart number 1.
Yeah, I would think so.
But I don't think he feels like he has to take a back seat to anybody.
No, that's fair. And that's also what this game can kind of be about. I see that super chat. We will get to it. Speaking of this game, no matter how you're going to watch it, let's give you a little thought here. First off, if you're watching at the house, make sure you have a great setup. Maybe you don't have the perfect setup. Maybe your screen's not quite big enough. AV Consultations is the place that can get you set up. This weekend, I went and saw my parents. We watched the A&M game, but then we also watched a little NFL yesterday on Sunday. When you go to that double box on YouTube TV, yeah, if the original screen's not too big, guess what? Those little screens, my dad and I are both leaning up to look. Make sure you've got a big enough screen. I was certainly glad that I knew I was coming home to a bigger screen. So my dad has not outscreened me. If your dad has outscreened you, that's where you need to get to AV Consultations. 255-8678 or avconsultations.com. Tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live and make sure you get the setup that you need. Now, if, for instance, you aren't going to watch at the house, you want somewhere to come watch the game, come watch the game on this bad boy with us. TCH Social Austin, 183 and Anderson Mill. It's a 6:30 kick. Get on out there. Get piled into the post game for the end of it. Oh, it's going to be a good one. I hope it's a 2-minute warning kind of post game. We'll see. Get piled in. The Lowy Law Firm will sponsor it. Who knows? Maybe Texas will be up 17 and we'll get to go with the 2-minute warning. We'll see. Come out and have the great food, the great drink specials. They're going to re-rack those for you this week. We'll get you that info as soon as we have it. But come see us at TCH Social Austin. It is always a good time. Can't wait to check out that game this week. Catch the wave with our super chat here, 199. How has A&M been ducking Georgia as both are in the SEC? Catch the wave. I don't know that that's exactly how I would phrase it.
Well, they haven't been playing in the SEC championship games. That's one of the reasons.
They certainly have not played there. Yes, when A&M came into the conference in 2012, they played Georgia a mere 7 years later in 2019. And then they haven't played them again. So you can go through why that has happened. And if you want to look at it as A&M ducking Georgia, you can do that.
How do we know that Georgia hasn't been ducking A&M?
If you want to look at it as the SEC, make sure that all of its power teams have as good a schedule as they can, deal with. I think that's probably a discussion too. Why hasn't Georgia had to go to Kyle Field since A&M entered the SEC? The Aggies do have a couple wins to brag about since that time. They've beaten LSU a couple times. They've beaten Bama, but they haven't beaten Georgia at Kyle Field because nobody scheduled the game. So I love the idea, Catch the Wave, that you think A&M has that power. I really love that idea. I don't think that's what's happening, but I love that you think they have the power.
I mean, I think, first of all, Chad.
Come on, man.
Attaboy to your Aggies. They're in.
They're in a 9-0 situation. I don't know I'm not going much past that.
Look, barring losing at home to South Carolina, they're in.
Mm-hmm. Look at you reverse jinxing. Well done.
No, I'm not.
The OB crowd's going to really appreciate you for that one.
Look, I think what's really interesting about this weekend is that on the surface, it looks like it all went wrong for Texas. And in reality, it all went right. You can basically grandfather 10 teams. They don't need A&M to lose to anybody. Talking about Texas. There's an Oregon discussion that's interesting because they've got a couple of games that bear watching, including Anwar wasn't taking the bait, but I think the Apple Cup, that's Washington State. What do they call Oregon and Washington?
I don't think it has a name. It's just one of the best rivalries nobody talks about.
When that game takes place in Washington, it's one to keep an eye on. You can make a case Oregon should be everybody should keep an eye on Oregon. But the ACC made itself a one-bid league this weekend, where that wasn't the case a week ago. And the playoff rankings kind of indicated that, right? And Virginia and Louisville weren't to be completely dismissed. Now they are. And now if Georgia Tech loses to Georgia, or if they were – Georgia the ACC is getting one bid. If Texas Tech wins the Big 12, and that is a big if, because while I favor them to do so, Chad, they've never done it before.
Yeah, they're going to have to deal with they'll have to deal with either BYU again or Cincinnati in that title game.
The pressure and expectation of your season's on the line, don't screw it up. Like it's
oh yeah, and they'll pack. That's in Jerry World, right? The championship.
Yep.
They're going to pack it full of their fans, high expectation. They'll be expected to win. Can they step up? We'll see.
Texas and Colorado, 2001 Big 12 championship game. Sometimes these moments swallow a team up.
Yep.
But if Tech handles its business, the Big 12 is going to be a one bid league, which no matter what happens this weekend, and even if you let Notre Dame in, just say, forget about the Irish. Who cares about this Pitt game? Just they're in too. There's still a spot left, assuming Oklahoma loses to Alabama and,
Hang on 1 second. Bobby, remember, this can't happen. Like that don't root for the no ACC team. Remember, they're going to play a championship game. Whoever wins it gets in. They could have 5 losses.
They might be seeded 12th. But
they could get right. They might get seated under a group of 5, but they will put one of them in. Just remember that.
I just think, I don't know. Maybe I watched the Tech BYU game, and the confirmation bias I now have towards those two teams is based solely on that ass whipping that took place.
Yeah, that could have been worse.
It should have been worse.
What if Tech finishes every bit of their business? What if they catch every drop ball? What if they button up everything, catch? What's the final of that game?
I thought it was the worst loss by any team in the playoff discussion all year long.
They could have beat them 52-7 if they connect all the dots.
It was bad.
They killed them.
I wanted that game to be interesting just because I wanted to see Tech.
Me too.
Push a little bit.
Hey, I don't know. Were you we're about the same age. Were you wishing for like a Ty Detmer or a Steve Sarkisian or somebody that could chunk a football on that side?
It wasn't there. It was not there.
Is Robbie Bosco
about the most competitive BYU could be was every once in a while on defense they'd sack a quarterback.
Jim
McMahon.
McMahon
Tech would convert second and 20.
Somebody, Steve Young now. Like today's Steve Young, I think could have completed a couple.
So I come away from that game thinking that in a rematch, BYU's just not beating Tech. But 2001 Texas and Colorado, I thought the same thing about Colorado when I watched Texas beat them 41-7 or whatever the hell it was in Austin that day.
It's such a good comp. It's such a great comp. And the fact that it could happen back in the Cowboys Stadium, that is a wild comp. And all we're going to think if they play again is, Tech's just going to kill BYU.
Texas will need, unless Texas runs the table, Texas will need Texas Tech to win the Big 12 championship. And if they do, it's really more likely than not that Texas will sit on top of a pile of teams that I think it has an advantage over. Oklahoma, Vanderbilt. Like the list kind of goes on and on. It's 10-2 BYU or 11-2 BYU. BYU is not getting the benefit of the doubt over anybody after Saturday. I'm sorry. They're going to have to win the league.
I agree.
And now Texas can't get their ass kicked by Georgia. That would hurt.
The looks matter. The committee has told us how you're playing throughout. It matters to them.
But a close loss in Athens and beating A&M in college or in Austin, probably in a world where Tech wins the Big 12 and Ohio State beats Michigan. Just because there is a world out there where Michigan could be 10-2 and beat Ohio State.
Right.
And Texas would be 9-3 and didn't beat Ohio State. I think Michigan gets the edge there. So, there are a couple of qualifiers on this. And if that happened, then you're probably looking at Oregon and going, lose to Washington, baby. Can you do that?
Well, and Ketch, you brought up that game, so I just want to throw this out too. When we get to the last week of the season, there's one wild theme above Texas in the rankings. Everybody's got to go on the road for their rivals. I mean, have you looked at this? I looked at it this weekend. Check this out. Ohio State is at Michigan. Indiana, I know it's Purdue, but that's their rival. They're at Purdue. Where does A&M have to finish? Obviously in Austin. Where does Bama have to finish? At Auburn. Where does Ole Miss finish? They finish at Mississippi State. You mentioned Oregon having to go to Washington. And even though it's not a rival, you know where Tech finishes the season?
At West Virginia.
Morgantown. They got to go up into those mountains on November.
That's going to be a weird, tricky game too, isn't it?
November the 29th in Morgantown. Catch, I went up there for that Texas game a few years ago when it was like early to mid-November.
It'll be their Super Bowl because it'll be a chance to beat a top 10 team.
When the wind comes off of those mountains and it hits you, it's chilly. And I wasn't there on the 29th of November. I was there earlier than that. So when we watch the end of this season, just remember that everybody that you're thinking of, Texas fans, that's above you, including the team that's coming to you, it's all going to happen on the road. By the way, Georgia goes to the Falcons Stadium to play Georgia Tech. It's not truly a road game, but it ain't at home. That has to happen too. Haynes King and that group, remember how close they came to beating Georgia last year? That thing went 8 overtimes in Athens.
The thing is, there's the most likely thing I think at this point in the ACC is probably Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
But, I mean, who knows? They'll probably lose to Georgia, although I think you and I think that could be an interesting game.
Could be weird. Again, at an NFL stadium like that. I don't know what to think.
I'll just finish it like this, and then we can get ready for buy or sell. Pay a bill, buy or sell, do that thing. I think Texas fans went into the bye, and they were thinking to themselves, let's see some fucking chaos. We're not playing. We ain't got to go to overtime. We don't have to worry about coming back. We don't need Ryan Niblett to catch a punt and bring it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Let the rest of you jerks deal with some of the – oh, God damn it, everybody won. I think that's how Texas fans felt in real time.
And the hand and like the fact that also A&M and Tech handle the wins. Like if you were blocking Aggies and Red Raiders last week, I'd go ahead and block them another week because they're not going to be fun this week.
But if I'd said 2 weeks ago, before the Mississippi State game or the Vanderbilt game was even played, hey man, I think by the time we come out of the bye week, a 9-3 Texas team will have a very good chance of getting into the playoffs if Ohio State beats Michigan and Texas Tech wins the Big 12. Those are the only two qualifiers. You can go 9-3. Doesn't matter which of the two you beat and which one you don't.
Right.
9-3, and you're in if the two things I just mentioned happen.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing crazy has to happen. Just those two things that we expect to happen.
Right. You didn't even say like Pitt has to beat Notre Dame. You didn't even go that far.
That could also happen.
Could also happen, yeah.
And at which that would help Texas at 9-3 even more. If I told you before the Vanderbilt game 2 Mondays ago that a 9-3 Texas team would be more likely than not to make the playoffs if Tech beats BYU twice and Ohio State beats Michigan, you'd take that deal all day long.
Right.
Because you would have expected there to need something more. You'd expect, oh God, we're going to root for Pitt, aren't we? You'd expect that somewhere along the way, there's an unlikely event that you need to. It's like those NFL wild card scenarios. And it's like, okay, got to beat the Cowboys, no problem, right? And then you need the Eagles to beat the Giants. You're like, okay, well, cool.
Yeah.
And then there's always one like, you need the Titans to beat the 49ers in San Francisco. And you're like.
Or tie.
Yes, exactly.
Or tie.
But there really isn't. I'm not saying that Texas is a sure thing. I would never say that. I'm just saying that this Georgia game has less jeopardy for Texas in it than most people think, I think, unless you get your ass kicked.
Right. Unless it's a dominant.
And you know what?
And then you're going to have to counteract that by not just beating the Aggies. You're going to need to beat the Aggies, and maybe it needs to look a certain way.
I mean, you won't,
because if you're 9-3, because look, they look at Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt, and I think they see flaws. They see the wins, but the committee also sees the flaws of those wins.
Chad, yes, the answer is yes.
I wonder how that would look. Does OU at 10-2 get in over Texas at 9-3? Oh yeah, I would think so.
Yeah,
because that's a team that beats Bama, right?
Yeah.
In Tuscaloosa. Yeah. A road win against Bama. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it just is what it is. Like at that point, OU probably would deserve to be in at that point at 10-2 over 9-3 Texas, because OU would have a quality I know it's not the same. They did play Michigan. Like that's, sometimes that's the breaks. They won that game.
That'd be wild. That would be wild if that happened. All right, let's pay a couple bills here. And
look, you do need Oklahoma to lose this weekend in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, yeah.
It is one of the other things
you're rooting for
does
Bama.
Need to happen.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Bama. I think that would be helpful. There is a weird way if you beat Georgia and then you want to be
nothing good in life.
Yeah.
It's rule number one of being a Texas football fan.
Oh, I
Nothing
agree.
good ever occurs, ever, from OU enjoying any success.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that everything good is at Taste on Main, including the lasagna. Look at that bad boy. Every Monday, they fire up the lasagna. It is scratch made and it is fantastic. Plus half-price bottles of wine all day. There's your QR code if you want to go see them in downtown Buda. Free parking right across the street with the weather turning cooler. Maybe it's sit outside. They do have heaters outside if it's a little too cool. Maybe you go inside. Great steakhouse as well. Great oysters. East Coast only oysters for you oyster snobs. Get over to Taste on Main. Tell Travis, Tamara, and the crew we said hello in downtown Buda. Tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. We would appreciate it. Also, we appreciate the good folks at Specs. If you're getting stocked up for maybe a watch party for Texas and Georgia, pay attention.
When fall's chill hits the air, raise a glass with cash to spare. Specs can fill those longer nights with fancy cheese and wine flights. Camp is set and the night is young? Grab a brewski, time for fun. Game day underway? Specs delivers. It's a great day. Picnic in the park, perfect pairing for the heart. Stock up and save on seasonal cheer, because when you shop at Specs, the fun starts here.
Here's to you, shout cheers to savings.
Kind of went Brian Kelly there on my Georgia. Sorry about that. I was trying to just say Georgia. And I kind of went George. I got caught between where I was headed, and so I kind of Brian Kelly'd that one.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry to the good folks at Specs there. My family kind of got in the way. All right. Catch, are you ready for a little buy or sell?
I am.
All right. First or second?
I'll go first since I've teased a couple of my questions.
All right.
We'll go ahead and just go with it. Buy or sell number one. You like Georgia by 10 plus this weekend?
Right now, I'm going to sell that. I think by the time it comes, around to picking this thing, I think I'm leaning Georgia, but I think it's a home team kind of pick for me. I think if this was in Austin, I could work up a reason to pick Texas, but I think it's going to be Georgia, but single digit kind of a game.
Buy or sell number two. I teased this one earlier.
Yeah.
Gunnar Stockton will finish with a higher passer efficiency number than Arch Manning on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I will have to do a small B buy here because, again, I'm leaning towards a Georgia pick. But, man, if you're concocting a Texas pick, it's the opposite here. You need to – if you're going to pick Texas, I think you have to assume that it's because Arch Manning outperformed Stockton by a little bit, just like Ty Simpson did. I hope Arch gets it done because, man, what an opportunity to really send a message to the fan base, to the fans around the country, and his legend – could get such a notch on the old bedpost if he can figure this one out, because he's not going to go to Athens and play bad and Texas win. That's not going to happen. If they win, it's because he plays well and rises, and all the boats rise for that analogy. And then Texas fans start to think, oh my God, I can't wait for the game against the Aggies. But this one I'll buy.
I think you're right. Buy or sell number three. The Aggies are a national title threat after this weekend. I know you've been slow to go too far.
Yes, always slow to go too
They're
far.
9-0.
They are 9-0. They are 9-0. I mean,
there are no great teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bye, and this was a very important game for them because November on the road is not their thing. We talked about the others.
Who would you want A&M to avoid in a playoff like Final Four?
What's that now?
Who would be the team you wouldn't want A&M to play in a Final Four? Not the championship, right? Because it could be if you want to avoid Ohio State, but you see them in the championship. That's how championships are won. Georgia, kind of the same thing. Is there a team that just matchup wise or whatever, you're like, let's wait till the championship to play them?
Georgia or Ole Miss. Those kind of teams. I think the matchup with a team that plays the way Bama plays might be a little better for the Aggies. The Aggies, to me, if you can really run the ball and really defend the run, I think that's why I thought, that's if A&M played Vandy, that would be a concerning game for me on the matchup. That's where I thought Vandy could get Texas, was that type of matchup with just run the ball and defend it. So it's those kind of teams that I think could give the Aggies a little trouble because they've given up points. The defense has given up chunks. And if you have a dynamic run game, heck, if they had to deal with Notre Dame again, they gave up 40 the first time. So I cannot guarantee you that matchup. That's the kind of team too. A rematch with Notre Dame would be bad. I'd want to avoid that if I could for A&M.
Matchups may be everything this year in the playoffs.
Absolutely
who catches a break with facing the right kind of teams.
Yep.
Buyer set number 4. You don't have a Heisman winner in your mind yet.
Probably bye. Yeah, I don't have one specific. There's a group of them. After this last weekend, I'm thinking the quarterback at Indiana and the running back at Notre Dame probably need to be in the discussion. And then after that, I'm not really sure. So
I think that's crazy.
Those two guys, I think, are kind of in the talk, but and then you look at
how is it that no one is talking about Julian Sayin?
And
have you looked at his numbers?
His numbers are awesome. He's playing great. He's probably, if you're going to break down the numbers and where he is on what team he's on, he probably should be the front runner.
He has a chance to be the first ever
right now
+% thrower of a football in a season.
Yeah, he's got a chance to beat what was Colt's record, and then somebody took it from Colt, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if it got above 80.
Yeah, no, it was
78.
Colts was 78 something, and then somebody got him a little bit higher. But yeah, it's crazy. You're probably right. It's probably Sayin, but I think those two guys will be in the discussion too. So no, I certainly don't have one guy in mind.
In his last 5 games, Sayin has a 14-1 touchdown to interception ratio. No one talks about him.
Yeah, he's fantastic. They're in a way they're staying under the radar, just stomping teams, stomping their schedule, doing what they're supposed to do. Nobody's paying attention, but you're right. Every number they throw up on him, it's like, what? 85% for 3 straight games. What just happened? What is going on? What are you talking about?
It just might be that we all know Jeremiah Smith so well that he's the only guy that we'll think of, maybe. I don't know. It's a strange one.
I think you talked me into it. Bye. It's Julian Sayin, Catch.
I mean, that's who it is for me, but I'm kind of alone. It's the Indiana guy. Buyer set number 5. The NFL was boring yesterday.
Sell. One of my NFL teams played a close game, so it wasn't boring.
It was boring, but that was a closer game.
That was a close kind of fight game. The comeback for the Texans was at least noteworthy. The NFL's never boring for me. So
the Sunday afternoon games, the combined score at one point was like 84-7.
Right, but I was driving back from Cisco with Red Zone on my phone, and Scotty was just telling me what was going on, and I was just looking at the scenery. So it wasn't.
That didn't make you blink. You're like, I don't care. Give me more Seahawks, Cardinals, or whoever the hell it was.
No, I was just driving, and he was telling me all these games are blowouts. And you know what I thought? I was smiling, thinking, well, I'm not missing close games, and I just kept driving. So for me, it was actually kind of exciting and not boring.
Fair enough. You know what I realized yesterday in the red zone?
What's that?
Audio on has to. I had it audio off for about an hour and a half in the early games.
Yeah.
You really do have to have some stimulation, arousal
Oh, Scotty is critical.
Like, just keeping your eye on it's not the same.
Scotty's critical. The moment he comes on the screen, I scream Scotty at my television.
Scotty!
For a reason. Scotty! I do it every week. Got to have Scotty.
Fair enough. Buy or sell, your turn, go.
All right, here we go, Catch. Let's go to tomorrow night. Buy or sell number one, the CFP committee will move A&M up this week.
Sell. No, I think they'll still be 3.
Okay.
But because I think the committee will look at that and go, no reason to change it. We really don't think anything has changed. And there is a pathway for A&M to make the leap.
All right, buy or sell number 2, Ohio State would beat Indiana and A&M by 10+.
Buy. On a neutral field with a month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever to get ready, buy.
Can't wait for that Big Ten title game. Speaking of title games, Catch, Texas Tech will win the Big 12. Buy or sell?
I'm going to say buy because I don't know. It would feel like I don't know what the hell I'm leaning on to say sell. I don't. What did I see this weekend that I think changes? It's hard. Right. It's hard coming out of that BYU game thinking, BYU handle them with ease next time. I don't know. That looked like a game that Tech should win, barring some Tech stuff happening.
I can't wait to see the BYU game plan if they have a rematch. It better be something. They better come up with some idea. They didn't have many in that one. All right, Catch. Back at you. Buy or sell number 4. Georgia by single digits on Saturday.
Buy.
Okay.
But
it could. Yeah, it could.
Texas is going to have to play its best game of the season on the road.
No doubt.
And that may not be enough to get them a W, but they're going to have to play their best game of the season on the road.
Yeah. And on the other side of football from teams like that, Catch, buy or sell number 5. You can tell me who the Cowboys play off the bye.
I can. They play the Raiders.
Hey, very good. Well, I couldn't have done that this morning. When I thought this up, I'm like, I have no idea who they play. I was just so glad they didn't play yesterday. I love a Cowboy bye week. A Cowboy bye week, it's not better than games used to be in the 90s, but it's better than games were in the mid-2000s. It's better than that.
And it's better than what we've watched this season.
Yeah, it is. It's better. Think of that Denver game. Think about what watching that Denver game or the Arizona game was like. Yesterday was way better.
We are 3-5-1.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give me the bye week.
You know, the only thing the Cowboys could do, Catch, to be more cowboyish is to end up with a record that feels average to below average, just like that, but with 2 ties. Another tie.
I'd be okay with a tie.
That's the next thing that could really send the Cowboys over the top for mediocrity.
I would be like, you know what? We didn't make the playoffs that year, but we did tie twice. And when has anybody ever done that? That's a notable accomplishment.
Right. There's 17 games now. So if they finish 7-8-2, that would be the ultimate Cowboys record to me right now. 7-8-2.
That actually sounds better than what I anticipate actually happening. 7-8-2 means we got to go on a little bit of a run here.
So you're saying I can get you to sign up for 7-8-2 right now? Look at the schedule that includes Patrick Mahomes on Thanksgiving and get back to me.
Didn't they give us Mahomes on Thanksgiving a few years ago, and they hit that Travis Kelce wasn't a Hail Mary?
I don't.
He just threw a deep post and he ran all the way across the field and scored.
Probably.
Do you remember that?
No, I've forgotten.
Have you blocked that out?
I've blocked that out of my brain. All I know on Thanksgiving is I'm usually around people that hate the Cowboys, and the Cowboys usually lose. And I'm just the butt of every joke in the room. I'm usually the one. There might be 2 or 3 Cowboy fans in a group of 25 people when I'm doing Thanksgiving sometimes, and we just get hammered on. Oh, it's awful. It's just awful. Thank God there's food, because otherwise it would just be terrible. All right. Before we get out of here, one more little reminder, circle it on your calendar. because we're headed out to the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. What are we, 11 days away? Yeah, the 21st, right before the Arkansas game. We're headed out for the live show on that Friday and Q&A until 3 o'clock. Also, for you Deep Eddy Vodka folks, I checked in on the espresso. They said it's going fast. They said it is selling pretty well, and they don't know if the bottles are going to make it till January. So you got to go to the tasting room to get them. This is a limited time, one-time pour type of deal. So go get your bottle. Great Christmas gift idea if you got a vodka lover on your list. Deep Eddy Espresso Vodka. It's there. It's in the tasting room right now until it's gone. So get on out there and check it out. Mr. Ketchum, do you have anything else today on a Monday?
No.
All right. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, getting your notifications. 181,000 plus and climbing. We'll be back tomorrow for that modcast before the Georgia game. Mods. We'll get them all together and see what's going on. Anybody going to pick the Longhorns to beat Georgia this week? We'll find out. Thank you for supporting us and checking out the channel at Orange.